my name is Nate Jaramillo. This is my senior capstone proposal. Um, it's about teaching design as a tool to combat poverty and, excuse me, help the homeless in Hawaii. So my name is Nate. I'm a transfer student from Leeward Community College. I graduated Mililani High School 2014. I'm a student of the Creative Media program with a concentration in design and media. And my thesis for this project was design is integral to communication and organization, so driving the importance of the arts and teaching design techniques to people would give them new tools to improve their communities. Um, and the objective for my project, it started by taking inspiration for the Center for Urban Pedagogy in New York. They had, one of the examples I used in my paper was their vendors' rights brochure, and it explained a lot of different convoluted laws that affected vendors, street vendors, in the Brooklyn area. And I wanted to sort of do something like that for the homeless people in, our neighborhoods in Hawaii. I'm based in Mililani, so we don't really have, um, we don't see a lot of homeless people um, in our neighborhoods, but they're definitely like, in transit. We have a lot of bus stops, so um, we get them moving in and out. And I think we only have about maybe 2 encampments in our area, but I really want to use, design to help protect them from over-policing. I want to destigmatize the way that, people, especially in suburban areas like this, how they sort of look down on homeless people and view homelessness as a symptom of laziness. So the deliverables I intend on working on include a public service ad campaign, and I was thinking about doing one digitally and also for out of home, and the pamphlet that was inspired by the cup from New York. And my research was a lot about like what keeps people out of the arts to begin with. It started as you know a it started as a study into like why we see low engagement in design and the arts and like the general humanities in communities with fewer resources, communities racked with poverty. And I felt that the best way to you know combat those things in those communities was to give people the tools they needed to do it themselves. So it started as an exploration in like how would teaching design impact these people in a way that's meaningful, a way that's positive, and give them actionable solutions to the things that they're dealing with in their communities, especially poverty and homelessness. Um, so the significance that I was thinking of going into deciding what I was going to do as a project was again challenging what people think about homeless people, because I think that there's still um, a lasting negative impression and a stereotype about the way that homeless people look. It's all people who are older, I think, is what they believe, and that feeds the stereotype that like they just made a lot of bad choices um, throughout their life, and that's why they're old and homeless. That isn't the case. You have a lot of homeless people who are working, who are employed, who are young, who are, people from all different backgrounds. And I really want to do this project to dispel those stereotypes, because I think it's not something that people should it's not something that people should still be holding on to, especially given what we know about, statistics saying that a lot of homeless people these days are youth, people of color, LGBTQ people, people who are, just escaping bad home lives, and that can happen to anybody at any age. Um, and the second one is that like the cup, they have their public access design series, and that is where they tap local designers to. This is a quote from their site describing it, but they make important social justice issues accessible, and a lot of that work is spent just like the vendors' rights brochure, where they explain different laws, or different ways that like decisions from the government affect people at the lower levels. Um, and it may be difficult for people to understand decisions that are made, without their consent or without their input. So a lot of the time is spent explaining things to people so they can better understand what's going on around them, how things affect them, and how they can navigate, having to live within those uh, those bounds. Like people who are over policed often feel as though they have fewer rights just by like watching what's going on in their areas. So I think that part of the thing, or one thing that I'd like to explore with my brochure is, like I want to be able to help, homeless people meet their basic needs in ways that that aren't, like in ways that are proven to, like what most homeless people do now. Like, where can they take care of hygiene? Where can they get food? Where can they find temporary shelter, if not permanent shelter? And I really want to look into what ways have been working and are still lawful so that, they aren't punished by police. And this is data from a Statista study about how people react when they see two ads from certain brands. I wouldn't exactly be using a brand for this project, but the brand in this situation would be the state's homelessness initiative site. Um, if we don't count the the last figure where people say I don't take any action, then the top response to seeing an ad is to visit the brand's website. And that's, I think that's really just what I want the most out of, a digital ad campaign, is to get people to click through to, learn more about how homelessness affects people in Hawaii, like how um, the government intends to take care of it. What are the plans? What are the statistics? Like how are the different demographics affected differently by homelessness, and how are we as a community responsible for alleviating, the crisis. So my target audience would be people affected by homelessness at first, and then after them, people who are at risk of homelessness, people in poor communities, people who are disabled, LGBTQ plus people, and people of color, and then high school students, because I know that a lot of activism happens at high schools, and more so compared to, say, middle school or elementary school. But high school is where a lot of the drive is for activism. And there are a lot of students in, creative media courses, design courses, who feel very strongly about the cuts in funding to those programs. So I think this would be a good way to both get engagement in those programs and show administration that, like if you don't fund these things won't happen. Like good things won't happen. The proposed solution is, again, to put the tools to create and distribute messages in the hands of people who have messages to communicate, in an effort to rejuvenate the arts in impoverished communities and improve conditions in their area. My process started off as, in the pre-production stage, thinking of my mission statement as a designer. And I don't think I had more than a really vague understanding of like what I wanted to do with design. I know that I wanted to um, solve problems like every other designer, but I think that I think that through the semester in my personal life, um, I had the opportunity to try my hand at organizing people. So I think that I would like to be able to help people organize their communities as well through design. And that led me to, researching how design has been used to address social issues. That's how I found Andrew Shea's book about the role of the designer in designing for social change. And I thought that was really inspiring. So I wanted to see what we could do like that here, and for whom we could do it for. And then the post production is just like identifying, like what I could do um, within that scope, within my community. Like I'm only one person, I don't have a lot of resources, but what is something that I can do on my own that I can maybe teach people to do on their own and sort of organize that way. And then this is some of the Urban Pedagogy Center's work. Behind is the vendors' rights uh, brochure pamphlet thing that folds out. Has a lot of a lot of illustrations, a lot of text. It was printed in different languages, which is something that I'm looking at doing also, because a lot of people who are homeless don't always speak English as a first language. Um, and then for the digital ads and things, I was thinking of illustrations like this, where the text would just be on different slides or as a caption. And that's my presentation.